Welcome to episode 9 of Brutal Truths with New Hampshire State Representative Kevin Verville. Hope you like my new glasses, safety glasses. I'm on a lunch break. It's hot as heck. I'm in the Central Valley of California, so it's probably be 105 degrees today. Anyway, today's topic is, why doesn't wealth redistribution work? And the reason wealth redistribution doesn't work is because it's based on a flawed mechanism. So what you do when you try to redistribute wealth is you take wealth away from wealthy in very large chunks, relatively large buckets. And then you take that money and you disperse it amongst people that have less money, have less wealth. Rich people are not like Scrooge McDuck. They are not sitting on vaults full of gold coins that they can roll around in and go for a swim. Their money is invested in stocks, bonds, primarily businesses. That's where the wealth is. And so when you tax the wealthy so you can get their money to give to someone else, you force them to sell those investments. And so they're selling parts of companies, they're selling stocks, they're selling bonds. This, of course, if they sell too much of it, it brings the value down because people think there's a run on it. And then all that wealth gets peppered out to basically subsistence checks, right? So they're handouts to the quote unquote needy, so that they can live day to day, pay their day to day expenses. And so they don't ever get out of poverty with that type of assistance. They spend that money immediately, typically to businesses, the same businesses that you just tax. You just took that wealth out of by taxing people that own interests in those businesses. And that money gets plowed back into those very same big businesses. And so you've destroyed the wealth of the wealthy, who could reinvest and continue to grow businesses, create jobs, create more wealth, right? Because wealth is not a fixed sum. It is an ever-increasing amount. And you give it to people that just burn through it in no time at all. And you say, wow, wait a minute, what if they go to the local baker and they spend the money there? Then it goes to a small business and it goes into the local economy. Yeah, but that local business, that local baker is buying flour from the big flour companies, right? I mean, eventually all that money rises up to the top of the food chain again. And so you're not really helping these people. I mean, I guess you're giving them, a little bit of day-to-day help, but there's no long-term benefit to these people. But there is real harm to the businesses and families that you're stealing their wealth from to do this redistribution scheme. And that's why it doesn't work. So let's say you said, okay, we'll do it differently. We're gonna redistribute the wealth. So we're still gonna confiscate all this wealth via taxes, right? Because if it's a tax, it's legal, so it's not stealing. You're still stealing, right? You're taking people's money to do your own purposes, the things you think should be done with their money. That's stealing. So anyway, you take this giant chunk of money, right? And you pick a few people. Hey, you know what? We're going to give you each $1 million each. So you're going to have some real capital, some real money that you can go and either start a business or invest or do whatever. And for some people, that would be a life-changing experience. And they would start businesses, invest correctly, grow their own wealth. And maybe if they're lucky, get to the point where they have enough wealth where they have generational wealth, right? So the next generation doesn't have to worry about where it's going to earn its living from. But that's very few. If you take the general population and you hand them $1 million, most of them are. This is, everybody hates to hear it, and you're so cynical. But they're going to go blow it. They're going to go blow it. They're going to go buy frivolous things. They're going to go buy a fancy new car. They're going to buy a fancy new home. They're going to buy an RV and travel the country. They're going to take vacations. They're going to squander that money. They're not going to invest it where it creates more value for everyone. They're going to blow through it. And so whether you give them $1,000 a month or you give them $1 million in a lump sum, you can't force them to handle the money properly. And so you're better off to work for your money and earn it yourself and learn the value of a dollar and try to work your way up. But that is the brutal truth of why wealth redistribution simply has not worked, does not work, and shall never work. If you like the content, hit like, share, and subscribe. Drop me a note. And lunch break's about over. Sorry for the air conditioner noise, but again, it's very hot here in the Central Valley of California, and I got to get back. I got to get back to earning my own wealth, so I can pay for my own retirement, because nobody's redistributing their wealth to me. Anyway, thanks for joining me on my lunchtime talk. It's always good to see you. God bless you and yours. Cheers. Bye.